So we're going to make a baseboard and a spindle for a firebow set. So I've got a piece of standing dead sycamore here that I've sawn down. I'm just going to split it slightly off centre, and I'm just going to use an axe to do that. One split, and I'm just going to take another split off it so I've got something that's about three quarters of an inch or so in thickness. I'm just going to trim the edges slightly there. This side. And there is a little bit of pith left exposed, so I'm just going to take some of that off. My dog whistle. There's a sycamore baseboard, so put that to one side and split this down the middle. And take the corners off this. So, just going to take bits off, and all the while essentially I'm making a cut and turning a piece of wood. We've got a spindle now that is more or less round, and it's pretty much the same thickness all along. We don't have to worry too much about the tool marks. The string will pretty much even that off as it's going around in the bow drill. So I'm going to put a point on one end, and I'm going to make this a fairly long and steep point. And the reason I'm going to do this is so that when this end goes into the bearing block, we've actually got quite a lot of wood to grind down before we start causing any real friction at the top. So I want to reduce the amount of friction at the top of the spindle as much as possible, so that we've got maximum friction at the bottom to help us create our amber. We've got a point on one end. Now at the other end I'm going to carve a much shallower tip. baseboard and a sycamore. Okay, so we're just going to get the set ready now, so the next stage is bedding in. So what I'm going to do is just use my knife to put a little mark in the hearthboard. And so there's a gap there of about ½ an inch between the spindle and the edge of the hearthboard. So I'm just going to put a little nick in there, and this will be where my spindle sits. So I'm just going to put this down onto the floor. So I haven't got a hearthboard at an ember pan at this stage, because I'm not trying to create an ember, I'm just trying to get a hole ground into the hearthboard so that I can then put my notch in. So I prefer to do my notch once I've got a hole already formed. So posture is really important for bow drilling. I'm right-handed, so I've put my left leg, my left foot on top of the board, so that the ball of my foot is pretty much in the centre of the hearthboard, and I've got my right knee pretty much behind my left foot, and I want to try to keep my hips as square on as I possibly can. So I'm just going to put the drill into the bow, and I do this by taking it under and then back around. So what I'm going to try to do here now is get this wrist, my left wrist, in tight against my left shin. What that allows me to do essentially is to rock backwards and forwards to be able to put some pressure on. So all I'm going to do is nice and slowly start going backwards and forwards, making sure that I keep the bow level. And as I say, at this stage, all I'm trying to do is form a hole on the hearth block so I can then cut out my notch. So you can see there I've got the beginnings of my hole actually forming. So what I need to do now is cut my notch in this. So I'm just going to score a line down the centre of the hole, and then I'm going to score one crossways so that my lines go through the centre of the hole, kind of like a crosshairs on a sight. And then I'm going to divide that again in half, and then from this direction, and then finally I'm going to divide this into an eighth. So it's really important that your notch goes into the centre of the hole. So to get some of the wood out, I'm actually just going to use my knife and batten down. And there, and then from the other side, just to remove some of this wood early on. And then I'm just going to finish carving down into that with my knife. And it needs to go in a little bit further into the centre. So as I said, but there are two things really that we're looking for with our notch. Firstly, that it goes into the middle, and also so that we've got a clean edge down either side, so that as the dust forms, it actually just falls straight down into the notch and onto the ember pan. At this stage, I'm now going to resharpen my point on my spindle. I have my repointed spindle and my hearth board with a hole and a notch, and this time I'll have an ember pan as well. So I'm going to pop all of this down onto the floor. Essentially it dropped exactly the same posture as I did earlier, so I'm going to go under and over to get the spindle into the bow, and I'll put the ball on my left foot on top of the hearth board, nice and close to the hole, with my right knee in behind my left foot. Then with my arm coming around my knee so that my wrist is locked in against my shin. I'm just going to start some nice slow drilling. So initially I'm just going to take it steady until I start getting some powder building up, and once there's powder built up in the notch, I'll pick up the pace. But if you want to see how to take your ember and turn that into a flame via a tinder bundle, then you need to look at our other video, which is available on Jack Raver Bushcraft YouTube channel, and I show that using a willow set. So happy bow drilling, folks.